teaming up with a bunch of savage mayflies to dethrone an undead demigod. Loex surely does love a good gamble. Oh, I'm sure a third nostril would suit your face perfectly, darling. Names should not be told easily. You may call me Qulathis.
Before we begin, a quick but wholehearted thank you to the amazing ASMR artist, Dangerous ASMR, who kindly agreed to give Qulathis a voice of her own. She produces some of the greatest RP ASMRs I've ever heard, both from voice acting and storytelling quality. My personal favorites are the Lamir's Lullaby series and the Gentle Giantess series, though I really want to emphasize that both of these series have a more dangerous twin, which will change your experience tremendously, so be careful what you pick. And with that, greetings ladies and laddies, and welcome back to the realms of this cursed city. After painting the last cursed city models at the end of September, then losing myself in other projects and getting sick for half a month, I am finally back with Qulathis the Exile today. The fun with Woodelfs is that you can paint them according to the season you want them to represent. Originally, I wanted to paint her in autumn colors, but I also made a winter scheme. In the end, I thought it would be too much though, so I settled for pale summer colors with a bit of autumn orange, a scheme that I will continue to change as the video progresses. So ready your paints, pick up your brushes, and without further ado, let's get going. The first thing we're gonna do is to paint her trousers beige. For her tunic and her leaf skirt, we make ourselves a custom green paint by mixing the beige from before in equal parts with a light green and a pinch of dark green. After I started using it though, I realized that it was a lot brighter than I thought, so I put a little more dark green into it and quickly painted it over. Being satisfied with the light green, we switch over to some dark green for the missing leaves, her big skirt, and the quiver on her back. If you're using a white primer like me, you may have the paint really watery, seeking out the recesses in the weaving, resulting in a nice and easy depth effect like here. Finishing up with the dark green on her bracers, we pick a light orange and paint the inside of her skirt and belt, as well as the grip on her bow and the feathers on her arrows. Now I can already move to her skin color, for which I'll be using a rosy terracotta as my base color. Then we switch to a very light beige and paint her bow and arrows. I thought that a rich brown might be too harsh of a contrast for the overall mini, which is why the bow of my Qulathis is made out of birchwood. We also use this beige to paint the ornamental antlers on her head. For her hair, I got inspired by the amazing paint job of the Painting Baron, and I think that the dark bordeaux really suits her. Actually, a lot of my earlier designs were based off of his works, and the hair was something that I just really didn't want to change. After that, we paint her shoes in a rich brown, and the sheath of her dagger in a dark burgundy. Now we come to all the tufts of fur that frame her outfit, and although I initially wanted to give it a dark paint job to kind of tie the model together, I decided to go the opposite direction and paint it in a medium dark grey. I think the lighter approach for the fur and the wood definitely checks out for me, but you can of course do whatever you prefer. Coming to the true metallic metals, we start off with gold on the jewelry on her leg. Then we paint the belt around her waist, the ornaments on her bow, and the frame of her quiver. If the gold doesn't have good coverage, just let it dry and paint a second coat over it. This will definitely make it look like solid metal. For the tip of her arrow and the ornaments on her dagger, we switch it up to a light silver and we're basically done. The only things left are a bunch of small details. For the ribbons in her braided hair, I took a bright yellow to make them stand out. After those, we can take a bright red for the gems in her crown and on her quiver, and for the strings on her bracers, we take a pale brown. Lastly, we paint the ruined pillar in a dark bluish grey to make it fit with the Cursed City map cards, and also quickly touch up the skull with some light beige. Qulathis is now fully painted and only lacks a quick wash before being game ready. Again, I had a hard time deciding what wash to use, but then settled for a black wash instead of a brown one, purely because I thought it might mess up the fur otherwise. We apply the wash definitively, but not as heavily as we usually would do. After all, we want the paint job to still be considered pale and not darken it down too much. So, if the wash pools too much in some areas, just keep brushing to spread it out to your liking. While we're waiting for the wash to dry, we can use the time to paint up her base. Here we start by laying the foundation with Citadel's texture paint Sterland Nut. After that, we take a mustard yellow and dab it in random spots onto the ground, and then dry brush it over with a light khaki to make all of the texture stand out. Now we quickly paint up our cobblestones in a light bluish grey, and finish it up by painting the trim in a smooth pitch black. Qulathis the Exile, Hunter of the Woods and Avenger of the Angular Forest, is now fully painted up to an awesome game and battle ready standard. I gotta admit, painting her took a lot longer than I anticipated. Not just because she poses a very delicate figure, but rather because I was really indecisive about the paint job. I often paused to ponder about certain aspects for quite a long time, which really was rather annoying. On the other hand, I'm quite happy with how she eventually turned out in the end, so I guess I should be glad that I took my time here. Speaking of time, the speed paint is now officially concluded, yet I would like to use a few more minutes to show you guys a couple of optional extra steps on how to even further upgrade this already awesome looking mini. The first thing you want to do is to take the pure light green from earlier again and give the leaves of her loincloth some edge highlights, and after that, take it to emphasize the folds on her tunic and mouthguard. Then we mix the light green and the dark green in equal parts, and take this color to pick out the woven structure of her quiver and skirt, as well as use it to highlight her braces. To lighten up her trousers, we can use the same color as for the base, and paint the outward facing folds with it. People who have watched my Glauriour Van Alten speed paint will know what comes next. Taking a light grey paint and a brush with a fine tip, we pick out all of the single strands of hair of the fur. Now, I know that this might look hard and painful, but trust me, it is not that bad, especially compared to the mass of fur we had to work on with Glauriour. Okay, after the fur we take the light beige from before and edge highlight the side of the bow, as well as the arrow. Angle the brush when doing this and apply the paint with the side of the bristles to make your life a lot easier here. On the antlers we just need to pick out the tips and pointy bits. To really make the gold shine, we take a really bright yellowish gold and pick out the most reflective parts. If this looks too bright for you, you can of course use the same gold as for the base and just give it a light polish. Getting really close to the finishing line here, we take the same skin color as we used for the base and pick out fingers, knuckles, and the most prominent parts of her face, like eyebrows and cheeks and so on. Then we take an even brighter tone of that color and touch up some parts of the aforementioned again, like the bridge of her nose, the tip of her ears, etc. The last thing we have to do on Qulathis are her eyes, and here we can actually have it very easy. Taking inspiration from the wood elven archer Carillion from the Warhammer Vermintide video game, we just fill them out pitch black and call it mission accomplished. Now we just gotta finish up the stone pillar with some light grey highlights, give the skull a quick touch up, and, to make it a little more exciting, throw in a bunch of bushes. Qulathis the Exile is now fully painted and geared up, ready to put an arrow between the eyes of every demon the Cursed City throws between her and her prize. I am very happy with what we managed to achieve here, and I really hope that you had a lot of fun watching this video. If you are following me along in this series with your own miniatures at home, you will have 6 out of 8 heroes of the Cursed City fully painted up, as well as all of the villains that come with the box set. As always, I will leave a detailed guide listing all of the exact paints that I used for this model down in the description of the video. And should you have any questions, maybe a couple of suggestions, be my guest and share your thoughts in the comment section. In the next and last video of our speed painting series, we will need to tilt our head quite a bit to have a look at our diminutive friend, Dagny Holdenstork. And if you would like to see his paint job, as well as all of the other shenanigans I'll be up to in the future, feel free to hit the subscribe button. As I am really looking forward to seeing you again in my next video. Until then, take care.
Qulathis will guide my bow.